And coming up today on the Starr Midday News, senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Asa Asante, strictly urges that there should be a strict scrutiny of campaign promises following about 140 pledges by the NPP flag bearer Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia made at the launch of the NPP's manifesto yesterday in Takoradi.
That is why it is our duty to also interrogate the issues as fair as possible and then leave it at the doorstep of the ordinary mind for him or her to make up his or her mind. That is our duty. Because other than that, it becomes a difficult and a technical document for my mother who sells cocoa.
Also coming up in the bulletin, management of Controller and Accountant General's departments grilled by the Public Accounts Committee over inability to recover 64 billion Ghana cedi debt owed by state institutions. Also coming up on the Starr Midday News, Karachi East MCE attributes delay in construction of Dambai Bridge in Oti region to resistance of boat operators over livelihood fears. Later on, we'll tell you how the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations is locked up in a meeting with CTAC executives and others to find a lasting solution to the industrial action by the aggrieved colleges of education teachers. We'll touch base with our reporter for the very latest. We've got details of all of these stories and more coming up for you here on Starr 103.5 FM, the Starr Midday News. Do stay tuned.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takoradi, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, MyStar Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM. Starr News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
Thank you for joining us here on Starr 103.5 FM, the Starr Midday News. My name is Lantam Papanko. Senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Asa Asante, is pushing for a strict scrutiny of campaign promises ahead of the upcoming December polls. It follows about 140 pledges made by the NPP flag bearer Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia during the launch of the governing party's manifesto in Takoradi yesterday. The new Patriotic Party presidential candidate, among others, promised an overhaul of the current tax regime to offer respite to businesses. Have a listen to him.
Many individuals, businesses find our tax system cumbersome and confusing. We want a tax system that is easy to understand, easy to comply with, and easy to enforce, softer on the taxpayer, and that is not subject to so much discretion. The next NPP government will introduce a very simple, citizen-friendly and business-friendly flat tax system. My government will provide a tax amnesty, that is a complete exemption from the payment of taxes and the waiving of associated interest and penalties up to a certain year to individuals and businesses for failures to file taxes in previous years. Our ultimate goal is to move Ghana to a lower tax regime with broader coverage to stimulate greater economic activity and generate more revenue to the state. For this to succeed, tax digitalization will be implemented across all aspects of the tax administration. Everyone will be required to file tax, a very simple tax return, electronically through their mobile phone or a computer. There will be no manual or paper filing of taxes anymore.
Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the NPP's presidential candidate. He is also vice President of the Republic, and he was making that statement yesterday in Takoradi during the launch of the NPP's manifesto. Let's stay on this a while longer. We're joined on the phone line by the President of the Ghana Union Traders Association, Joseph Paddy, the spokesperson for the Ghana Union Traders Association, Joseph Paddy. Mr. Paddy, good morning. Welcome to the Starr Midday News. I'm pretty sure you've been following what the NPP has been saying they have for the business community going into this election. They promised to revise taxes and port charges and all that. Are you impressed with these promises, and is that what the business community, especially those members of your association, is that what you need?
Yes. Let me say good afternoon to your cherished listeners and viewers on online. Yes. You know, before the manifesto launch and before they wrote those manifestos, almost all the political parties engaged us. I mean, we had an engagement with the Land with this transmission plan. We've had engagement with the NDC Manifesto Committee, had engagement with the MPP Manifesto Committee, and we made some proposals. So in the manifesto of the MPP, we've seen some of the proposals that we've made in there. For example, cost of doing business in the country, which is extremely high. They all agree to it that it's extremely high, which is affecting business, and that we are losing business to our neighboring countries, especially at the port. And they all agreed to that. We spoke about cost of doing business in terms of funding that will go to the bank to borrow at the rate of about 30 to 40%, which is not helping business community. And you can see yesterday, MPP came out with a policy, a program that they're going to support women in trading. NDC also has come out to they're going to form women's banking. Obviously, we were looking at traders banking. So they are all in line with what the business community is looking for. But the difficulty here is that when they come to power, the political will to implement some of these brilliant policy is the challenge that we find ourselves. But so far, so good. We've seen that almost all the proposals we've made have been captured in their manifesto. Yes.
So, moving forward, are you convinced by the policies that have been outlined to be implemented if the NPP is given a chance to continue to be at the helm of affairs after the 2024 elections?
That's what I said earlier on. That almost all the manifesto committee that have come to our doorsteps, we have engaged them, and then going through it throughout them. When you look at Alan's Great Transformation Plan, almost everything that we said is in there. When you look at the NDC, the youth program that they came out recently with, you can see that almost everything we said is in there. But the issue here is the implementation of those policies. That is the difficulty. The implementation of those policies. We don't know why, when they come to power, they find it difficult to implement those policies. That's why I'm asking whether is it a political way, because they all agree to what we said, that yes, as of now, we go to the commercial bank to borrow at the rate of 40%. Which business can survive under that dispensation? Cumulatively, when you go to the port to clear your goods, the port duty is about 52%. When it comes to tax, our tax rate here is about 22%, putting it all together. So which business can survive under this dispensation? Which they all agree that they need to. That is why when you look at the manifesto, they're going to review. We also talk about tax reforms, which they agree and say they're going to do a tax reform. But one thing saying it, and another thing bringing it to fruition or bringing it to pass.
So do I hear skepticism in your voice, that you are skeptical about whether or not they indeed are going to implement what they say they are going to do?
Yeah, because we've seen so many manifestos, brilliant manifestos, powerful manifestos. But when it comes to governance, we don't see them coming to pass. So that's why we are saying this time. That is why earlier we said we're going to hold them by their manifesto. But the difficulty is that you're going to hold them for only 4 years. Whatever comes, when they come to power for the next 4 years, you're going to hold them responsible for that. So if they don't implement those policies, what are we going to do as a trading community? But I believe that if they are going to go by these manifestos that they are coming to us with, there is a good thing that the country as a whole can benefit from.
Very well. Mr. Paddy, I'm grateful that you've spoken to us here on the Starr Midday News.
Thank you.
Joseph Paddy is a spokesperson for the Ghana Union Traders Association. Meanwhile, both leading candidates in the upcoming presidential polls have pledged to have a lean government if given the nod by electorates. The Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and the NDC flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, have promised a lean government with no more than 50 and 60 ministers, respectively. The NDC leader, during a media encounter, argued that an effective government does not require too many ministers. Have a listen.
governance and fighting corruption for development. I am committed to drastically reducing the size of government, and rightly so. This government has sufficiently proven to Ghanaians that with over 120 ministers and deputy ministers, all they could offer was to run our economy aground. I will run a lean, highly effective and efficient government of no more than 60 ministers and deputy ministers. And this is solid proof of my genuine commitment to curbing government expenditure. This leaner government will be the cleanest government Ghana has ever experienced. It will serve Ghanaians far better and set higher standards for future governments. What we have now can obviously never and should never be a yardstick for governance.
Well, his main contender, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, during the launch of the MPP's manifesto, took the promise a notch higher. According to him, 50 ministers will be enough.
In an efficient system of governance will require even fewer ministers. Therefore, I will have no more than 50 ministers. I propose that we can amend Article 87 of the 1992 Constitution, as well as the NDPC Act, Act 7479, to mandate political manifestos, political party manifestos, and consequently the economic and social policies of governments, as well as budgets, to be aligned to agreed broad contours in specific centers. The current constitution was designed for political stability, and it has achieved that. We need to amend it with the help of Parliament to align it more to national development. In that context, we are committed to the process to amend the 1992 Constitution through public consultation, with a key emphasis on the election of MMDCs to deepen democratic decentralization, ex gratia, and
So that's Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia during the NPP's manifesto launch yesterday, talking about the number of ministers that he will work with if the electorates give him the mandate to become the next president of the country. Earlier, you heard John Dramani Mahama talking about running the country with no more than 60 ministers. Now we'll be engaging a governance expert on these issues. Moving forward, is that the best way to go? Running a lean government as compared to the current administration, which is well over 80 ministers at a point in time. This particular government had over 120 ministers. Governance expert Dr. Frederick Odro has joined us on the phone line. Dr. Odro, good afternoon and welcome to the Starr Midday News. Both leading candidates have promised to reduce ministerial appointments to 50 and 60 respectively. Should we be happy about this?
Yeah, I think it's a very good development. Quite a number of, and oftentimes it's complained about the size of government. And if you have President Mahama, who's been a president before, and then Vice President Bawumia, who is currently a vice president, promising us that they will cap the number of their ministers to a specific number, it can only be a good development. I think I would wish that both parties would even get to the step that they say we're going to amend the constitution to fix a cap, that this is a number. And I think it is not only for ministers that I also wish to see them doing that. We need to cap the numbers for even the judiciary, the Supreme Court judge, all those things. We need to have a bigger discussion and cap them. Otherwise, any president who comes into power has got the free hand to appoint any number of ministers, any number of judges they want. And I don't think it is good enough for us.
So moving forward, what should Ghanaians be thinking when they hear these politicians get onto political platforms and say things like this, given that Ghanaians have seen a track record of both of them?
Right. One of the things that I don't want to see is, should any one of them win in power and they will come and say, oh, I promised this, that when I came into power, I don't think it was feasible. It is something they are promising, and we should hold them to it. That's first and foremost. I do think that this is an indication for Ghanaians that our politicians are beginning to not to take us for granted any longer. They know that it's no longer enough for them to come to say, "Oh, I'm sorry. When I was not in power, I thought I could do it, but when I came, I cannot do it." I'm also looking at feasibility of some of the promises. If a politician tells me he's going to cut down on or cap the number of ministers, this is feasible. It is doable. If they fail, they fail. But I'm going to be very careful about things that I'm not sure they can do. Because if you go back into various manifestos, they've given promises on things they couldn't deliver. And those ones, when they bring it up, we will take them on strongly. But these are doable. They are feasible. And I'm very happy they are making those kind of promises.
Well, Dr. Frederick Odro, we're grateful that you've spoken to us here on the Starr Midday News. Dr. Frederick Odro is a governance expert. Still on the NPP's 2024 manifesto, the new patriotic party is assuring Ghanaians of beefed-up security when they win the December elections. In the party's Bold Solutions manifesto, the NPP promised to equip security services to build capacity in protecting the country through increased recruitment as well as ensuring the deployment of body cameras on uniformed personnel. Have a listen to candidate Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
We will not compromise on our efforts to ensure Ghanaians feel safe and are free to go about their daily lives. We will therefore continue to keep our borders protected, our communities and neighborhoods also safe. We will complete the 15 forward operating bases at our border frontiers of Ghana. This will allow the military to swiftly respond to any external hostilities and threats posed by terrorists in the sub-region. We will continue equipping Ghana's security services to build their capability in protecting the nation. To make our neighborhoods safe, we are going to roll out 50,000 more anti-crime cameras, the CCTVs. And so far, we have rolled out about 11,000 CCTVs. But many districts and regions, many district capitals and regional capitals are not fully covered.
Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia there speaking about security. We're joined on the phone line by Mukhtar Momuni Mukhtar, who is a security analyst and executive director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. Mukhtar, welcome to the Starr Midday News. What are your thoughts on the MPP's prospect for security as announced in their manifesto launch yesterday?
Well, listening to the manifesto promises around security, yes, at the moment we are very challenged in terms of security along the borders. So there's a need to ensure enhanced security in terms of physical infrastructure as well as, technology-driven, measures at the borders. And so to talk about, border security and the way he talked about it, as well as the forward operating bases by the military, he's saying the right things. When you look at the surveillance systems in the country, we need to have done this. We needed to have done this long ago. We're actually several years behind in terms of professionalizing the service, in terms of ensuring technology-driven, modern-day professional security in the country. And so to have this at the moment, yes, it's a great thing to have that kind of promise. What we should all be interested in is in fulfillment of that promise. Several years ago, we've been talking about this in the last 6 years in terms of how we make technology an inherent tool to ensure professional security here. If you notice, we've had several situations or encounters between civilian and security officers that often end up, victimizing the local population because we do not have accountability systems that ensure fair and professional policing. And so to have body cameras and to have surveillance systems throughout the major cities and towns can help in terms of accountability and ensuring fairness, ensuring transparency when it comes to internal security. It also serves as a signal significant deterrent measure to prevent situations of armed robbery and attacks and kidnapping and all kinds of internal security problems. What we need to do is to insist that these promises are fulfilled in a way that is, addresses the security challenges that we have. And I emphasize this because we've had similar promises in the past in terms of, body cameras by the police force. We haven't seen those that we expect to see. And so we should, applaud them. But also insist that this should not just be mere promises that we can hold them to fulfill them.
Very well, Mukhtar. I'm grateful that you've spoken to us here on the Star Midday News. Mukhtar Momoni Mukhtar is a security analyst and executive director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. Let's remain on the NPP's 2024 manifesto. Actor Prince David Osei has justified his choice of the NPP despite the party failing to honor its promises in the creative sector. Take a listen to him.
For the creative art sector 2020 manifesto, a lot of promises were made. Some of them were not met, like with the construction of cinemas across the country. Not all were met, but as you know, there are always challenges. I believe that is why I said something yesterday that a lot of people misconstrued. I said voting for Dr. Baumia is voting for the change we all want. He has the bold solutions. It's someone who is coming in to help solve all the complexities we have in our economy. He's a transformative leader that will bring a lot of change and change the fortunes of our nation. So, at the moment, we all know he has been a mate for 7 years, and he's going to transition to become a driver very soon. Come 7th December 2024.
And that's actor Prince David Osei speaking earlier on the Morning Star, supporting the NPP and Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. Meanwhile, the deputy national organizer of the NDC, Elikem Kotoko, believes the NPP's manifesto is empty.
They have gone obsolete. They have no fresh ideas, no new ideas. And so they think that the only thing to promise Ghanaians now, for instance, is that we will not be taxing mobile phones, or we'll let you pay 1 cedi, 2 cedi for mobile phones. The Ghanaian who you promised to rent for, the Ghanaian youth out there who is watching us and is being chased out of his room by the landlord or the landlady because he cannot afford even his rent, who voted for you because you told them with a big billboard, remember me, do this. Suddenly, you have not even fulfilled any of those things. You recall even the incidents of them saying that we're going to change all the Okadas and give them cars. What has happened to that? Then now we are being told that we are bringing electric cars. So what exactly goes into the thinking ability of what you think you want to prefer as solutions to Ghana? It is okay if you want to say all the things you were saying, but I believe strongly that the Ghanaian out there is very discerning.
Elikem Kotoko is deputy national organizer of the NDC. Meanwhile, senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Asa Asante, is pushing for strict scrutiny of campaign promises. He spoke on the Morning Star. Promises and critically looking at these promises that they are.
It's nothing but a contest of ideas. Share ideas with us and referendum of your work. Have you done it before? If you have, show evidence. All right. These things we are talking about are not things that are new. They are things that exist and continue because they have not dealt with them. The problem continues to linger on. Are you with me? So we want to deal with vis-a-vis what they've promised us previous election and see how far we have come. And then we'll be able to you and I, as people who share or educate the public, it is incumbent upon us to scrutinize these things, have a meaningful and a fair discussion of it, and give it to Ghanaians to consume. Remember?
Dr. Asa Asante is a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. Let's find out now what some of you have been saying on social media as regards the NPP's manifesto launch. Nana Ama Akwa is in the studio with those details. Nana Ama, what have people been saying on social media?
People have a lot to say because, as you said, this is the biggest story of the day. Now, let's move straight over to X, where Alhaji says, ha ha ha, Vice President of the ruling party campaigning like someone in opposition. We have our next comment saying that the promises are too much, The one you promised, you never accomplished it, and you're still promising again. Parkwesi joins on that track, saying that new promises coming every day. Benjamin adds, a runaway man from the economy while teachers are suffering, farmers are suffering, students are suffering, importers are suffering, traders are suffering, journalists are suffering, police are suffering, military are suffering, lecturers are suffering. Only the president enjoys. That's what Benjamin is saying. The next comment says, the fact that this guy is all about money and not talking about job, they vex me. Gerald adds, where has this man been these past years? He's had all these solutions and we are here. Then we have Edrino. You couldn't even be the most impactful vice president because you failed, and we cannot give you the chance to become president. Our last comment here from Dennis says that we will definitely give you the opportunity because you were an impactful vice president. Number 1, you arrested the dollar. Number 2, you introduced e-levy. And number 3, thanks to Ghana Card, I bought a new house and a car. Well, Lantam, this is what we have time for. The reactions from our social media responders regarding the event yesterday.
Well, very interesting comments there from social media. Thank you very much, Nana Makwa, with those details there. Very soon we're bringing you sports here on the Starr Midday News, but the management of the Controller and Accountant General's Department were caught in a web as they struggled to justify their inability to recover over 64 billion Ghana cedi debt owed by the state institutions to the Public Accounts Committee. According to the Controller, they have been able to recover over 45 million cedis. This development didn't go well with the members of the committee as they accused the Debt Recovery Committee set up by the Controller and Accountant General's Department of doing a shoddy job. Here are excerpts.
Mr. Chairman, there's a committee to that effect, and as at the end of last year, the committee was able to get the details of some of the complaints from Register of Companies. And as at 31st, we've been able to recover 46 million. And the process is ongoing. We are also looking at where we are going to make a recommendation for a write-off for those insolvent companies. Thank you.
Controller, if I heard you right, you are saying that of the 61 billion, you've been able to collect only 46 billion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. 46.
46 million, not billion.
No, 46 million.
Yes.
Yes.
So I have seen the list, the committee that you have set up. What is the state of the committee's work so far?
Mr. Chairman, they are working. It's a committee made up of officers from CAGD and the Ministry of Finance. They are working, and as I said, they got in touch with the Register of Companies, and we've gotten the list of all those companies.
So those are excerpts from the Public Accounts Committee hearings. Now, the Election Security Task Force has once again declared its readiness to safeguard the peace and security of the country during the December 7 election. The temperature in the country ahead of the polls has been increased, with the opposition NDC-7 notice it will not sign any peace pact given the action over the death of 8 persons during the 2020 elections. Speaking during a visit to the EC headquarters over the upcoming exhibition of the voters register by the task force, the IGP and chairman of the task force, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, urged the public to patronize the exercise with the assurance of security. The IGP warned political parties not to take the law into their own hands when they have concerns.
Of us are represented here on behalf of the rest of the heads with all the technical team members of the National Election Security Task Force. We are here because we consider the corporate headquarters of the Electoral Commission as our second home. Since the commencement of the whole election process, we've been in and out of this place, all in the spirit of engagement, in the spirit of working together to ensure that from the security point of view, there is peace, security, law, and order.
So that's the IGP, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, Deputy Chairman for the EC, Dr. Bosman Asare, on his part assured that the Commission has done everything possible to engender confidence in the public about the transparency of the process. Dr. Asare disclosed that the EC is ready for the exhibition exercise, which begins tomorrow.
So the Commission is very excited, as I said, and this year is also perhaps a most important election as far as the country is concerned. But the assurance the Electoral Commission can give to the Election Security Task Force is that as a Commission, we are committed to a very peaceful process. We are committed to a very credible process. We are committed to a very, very transparent process.
Dr. Bosman Asare is Deputy Commissioner at the Electoral Commission. Now, the Ministry for Employment and Labour Relations, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and other interested parties are currently locked in a crunch meeting at the Ministry to seek a resolution over the 2-month industrial action being undertaken by members of the Colleges of Education Association of Ghana, CTAC. This is as a result of the government's inability to implement a binding agreement regarding CTAC's conditions of service, which has been pending for the past 2 years. Now, we'll bring you an update of this meeting in our subsequent bulletins. It's time now for us to bring you sports. Jones Aji is in the studio with the details. Jones, what's in sports?
Right, we're talking free buses for Ghana Premier League clubs, where Dr. Bawumia, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, has expressed a strong commitment to advancing grassroots sports development in Ghana. Now, during the launch of the NPP 2024 manifesto launch, the Vice President says when elected in December, his government will provide buses for Ghana Premier League clubs, and he also revealed a range of comprehensive and sustainable sports development policies, which includes funding, training, tax incentives, and direct support.
We will support the revival of the Premier League and clubs to improve commercial viability and create related jobs by directing policy through the National Lotteries Authority and the Gaming Commission to establish and fund a sports employment module to assist premier clubs fund operational expenses, including player remuneration. And also we will provide a bus to each Premier League club. And we will build 6 5,000-seater capacity stadia for the new regions, the 6 new regions. And we will build a standard stadium for Sunyani because of their love of football and the many clubs in Sunyani.
Meanwhile, some Ghanaian Premier League clubs have reacted to Dr. Bawumia's intended policies for Ghanaian sports. You can join us on the game at 1 p.m. for the reactions of all the team administrators and then fans. My name is Jones Aji. That'll be all for sports.
Thank you very much, Jones. Bringing us the latest in sports, new stadiums and new buses. Very exciting promises from the Vice President and the candidates of the New Patriotic Party. Now, in a surprising development regarding the delay in construction of the Dambai Bridge in the OT region, the Karachi East MC Charles Jemfi Boateng has revealed that both operators in the region petitioned President Akufo-Addo to halt the bridge project, fearing it would threaten their livelihoods. Back in 2019, President Akufo-Addo promised to build the Dambai Bridge to connect nearby towns in the OT region. 4 years later, that promise remains unfulfilled. The ongoing absence of the bridge, combined with frequent breakdowns of the Senchi ferry and long vehicle queues, continues to frustrate travelers. Now, the Karachi East MCE Charles Jemfi Boateng attributes the delay to resistance from boat operators. He shared this information in an exclusive interview with GH1 News' Peter Kwao Adato in the Bridge of Broken Promises and Hopes documentary.
The reason why it's delaying, you know, there is a small ferry in the lake. That is the boats, that small one. They also wrote a petition that if it is a bridge, their job is going to spoil. They don't have any. Yes, they are also using that small bridge to take the passengers across the lake. And so there is a petition at the table of presidents, and he's also looking about that.
Well, and that's it for the Starr Midday News here on Starr 103.5 FM. Thank you very much for listening. For more news, log on to starfm.com.ga. Take a look at our social media pages as well at Starr 103.5 FM on Facebook, X, and Instagram. My name is Lantam Papanko. Have a good day.